So this week I read two plays. I read Masterpieces by Sarah Daniels and Traps by Carol Churchill. Um, Traps was really confusing to me. It was supposed to be like an Escher painting where everything that happened on stage could not possibly exist except within the world of that play. Um, and it was just kind of perverted, and I didn't really get it. Um, and it hasn't really informed anything about Threepenny. Masterpieces was a play addressing pornography. So that is something that Threepenny doesn't really get into. We kind of head straight to prostitution, but there's some really interesting arguments made about pornography, and even just the progression of the play is that there are three women and three men, and they're all coupled together, and by the end of the play, the women have liberated themselves from the men, and like the closing scene is they're like having a picnic on their own, the three of them, and their lives are so much better. And the play just really demonizes men. Not that I am in support of pornography at all, but it definitely makes all men responsible for the pornographic industry. Because even if you are not consuming it yourself, just the fact that you don't actively avoid it or like banish it from your whole life means that you're sort of supporting it by omission, like by an omission of an action. So that I found to be kind of interesting. And it just was like an argument against pornography in a context that I hadn't really like considered before. Coming from a Christian background, it's pretty much just always assumed that the objectification of women in a pornographic sense is just wrong and unethical. So reading about it from a feminist standpoint rather than like a religious standpoint was very interesting, and something that I'm probably going to be thinking about for a while. I didn't particularly enjoy the play. I think there are a lot of things just kind of wrong with the way that it was written. It was just kind of troublesome. But it brings up a lot of questions about the nature of the prostitution industry in Threepenny. So even if Jake is sitting there with his newspaper in Turnbridge, just completely immune to the sex being sold and offered him, does that make him just as like demonizable as Mac, who is insatiable? And Sarah Daniels, from this perspective, would argue yes. And I don't think it's necessarily like Jake is better for not actively participating, but I do think it is wrong on a certain level.